Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this, because today we are unpacking a concept that literally rewrites the rules of the wealth game. We're going to explore the absolute fundamental difference between earning and owning. We spend so much of our lives hyper-focused on our jobs and our salaries, but we're about to see exactly why just working harder won't necessarily make you rich. And more importantly, we'll look at what actually will. So let's start with a reality that I'm sure most of us know incredibly well. You can work 40 hours a week. That's the standard, right? You put your head down, you do the job you were hired to do, and you collect that paycheck to pay your bills. It's honest, it's hard work, and it's what most of us are taught to do. But maybe you want to get ahead. Maybe you really want that promotion, or you need to save up for something big like a house or a car. So you push it. You work 60 hours a week. You take on extra shifts, you hustle on the weekends, and you just start grinding day in and day out. And let's be real, if you are really pushing the absolute limits of human endurance, you can even work 80 hours a week. At this point, you're giving absolutely everything you have to your job. You're trading your sleep, your sanity, and pretty much all of your free time just to maximize that income. But no matter how hard you push yourself, here is the really uncomfortable question I have to ask you right now. What happens when you stop working? Seriously, think about it for a second. If your income immediately stops the literal second your labor stops, well, you're simply selling your time. And friends, that is fundamentally different from building real wealth. It's basically a game you can never truly win on a long enough timeline, simply because your time is finite. And that brings us perfectly to our first major hurdle, the time trap, and why selling your hours just isn't enough. You see, relying solely on selling your time for money is a fundamentally flawed strategy if your ultimate goal is long-term wealth. Because here's the strict reality of the situation. Time is strictly limited. No matter who you are, how incredibly smart you are, or how hard you hustle, there are only so many hours in a day. When you rely exclusively on earned income, it demands your continuous, uninterrupted personal labor. You just cannot physically work every hour of every day. You need to sleep, you need to eat, and hopefully you have a life outside of work. Because of this undeniable fact, your earning potential is always going to be capped by your physical endurance and the literal ticking clock on the wall. So, let's shift gears to Section 2, Earn versus Own, the two very different ways to make money.
How do we actually break out of this time trap? We have to look at the stark contrast between how we make money. On the left side, we have earning. This is exchanging your time, your skills, or your physical labor for money. It's the standard, linear trade, your classic salary. But on the right side, we have owning. This involves acquiring assets that have the potential to generate income or appreciate in value over time. We're talking about things like a business, shares, real estate, or intellectual property. The absolute magic here is that owning something means it can produce value for you without requiring your personal hourly labor.
To be super clear, an asset is something you own that has the potential to grow or generate returns entirely independently of your time. And what's really interesting about this slide is how these specific assets completely break those physical limitations of the 24-hour day we just talked about. While you're sleeping, while you're eating, or while you're out spending time with your family, an asset has the potential to just keep working for you in the background. Which leads us to Section 3, the power of your paycheck, or why you definitely shouldn't quit your day job just yet. Now, hearing all this, you might be thinking the goal is to drop everything and become some full-time entrepreneur tomorrow. Actually, scratch that. Absolutely not. Your current paycheck is not the enemy here. It's an incredibly powerful foundation. We just need to reframe how we view traditional employment. Think of your salary as a launch pad. You use that predictable cash flow to fund your critical next steps, building a solid emergency reserve so you're safe and eliminating expensive debt that's dragging you down. It allows you to invest regularly and develop new skills to make yourself even more valuable. But most importantly, that salary is the primary fuel you use to eventually accumulate those productive assets we were just talking about. Okay, let's move into Section 4, the wealth building cycle and the ultimate mindset pivot. Once you have that cash flow engine running from your job, we are moving to what is easily the most crucial mindset shift in this entire explainer. It all boils down to asking yourself this one profound question. How much do I own? Just let that sink in for a second. The real transition in your financial life happens the moment you stop thinking only about how much do I earn and you start asking how much do I own? It's a subtle shift, but it changes the entire financial game. And you can really see the dichotomy here. Instead of going down the standard route on the left, spending every single raise and bonus on a more expensive lifestyle, just constantly chasing a bigger paycheck to buy more stuff, you take the path on the right, You definitely still develop skills to increase your income, but then you deliberately direct a part of that increase specifically toward acquiring productive assets. You aren't just funding a flashier lifestyle, you are strategically funding ownership.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an unstoppable system. Over time, making that deliberate choice creates this amazing cycle. Step 1, earn your income. Step 2, save a portion of it. Step 3, invest those savings. Step 4, use that to own productive assets. Step 5, allow those assets to compound and grow. And Step 6, repeat the whole shebang. You are literally taking a single dollar of your hard-earned income and converting it into a compounding asset. And as those assets grow, they start doing the heavy lifting for you. This brings us to our final phase, Section 5, True Financial Independence and Redefining What Wealth Actually Means.
Because when you follow this cycle long enough, it completely redefines what financial independence actually looks like. There is a massive misconception out there that we need to clear up right now. You do not necessarily need millions sitting in a bank account to be wealthy. Hoarding a massive amount of stagnant cash is not the ultimate goal here. Once you realize that, independence becomes so much more understandable and way more achievable.
The true objective is actually pretty straightforward. You just need to accumulate enough productive assets to support the specific lifestyle you want. The goal isn't just to stop working forever or sit on a beach, but to gradually regain control. You become a person with greater ownership of your financial future tomorrow, reducing your dependence on selling every single hour of your time today. Basically, you're buying back your freedom.
So, the crucial point of this entire explainer, if you remember nothing else, is this. Income pays for today's life, but ownership builds tomorrow's wealth. They work together. You use your earned income today to acquire the owned assets that secure your tomorrow. It's a beautiful synergy when you have the right strategy in place.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. The next time you look at your paycheck, I want you to ask yourself, are you just paying for today, or are you actually owning your tomorrow? The answer to that question could change absolutely everything.